Georgia, Georgia.
Doom Nation, what's up, guys? We are back again in the captain's quarters. It's Skaggs and your captain as always, and we are the two Doom men. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We had a great episode last week,
yes,
episode 58.
It was fun being back in the classroom.
Yes, we learned a ton of stuff from Professor Nick Giordano from the PAS report. Make sure you check out his podcast. Make sure you check out episode 58. Very informative.
59.
It was 59?
Yeah.
Oh, this is 60.
60.
Nice.
60,
there we go. We talked about the scary vaccine passports. We talked about what critical race theory is. And, yeah, it was a great, informative show.
It was one of those, I normally don't really always listen to our episodes over again, but I did listen to this one in its full because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And when you listen to it, it's a little bit, you learn a little bit more when you actually get to listen to it again, as opposed to when me and you were in like the moment of the conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially on Zoom, I hate doing Zoom and whatnot, but we had to. You lose things in like, especially through Zoom and then in the moment of a conversation, you don't pick up every little tiny thing somebody says. And
my headset was out while it was happening.
Yeah.
But great episode. Nick, thank you so much. We owe you one. Today's episode 60.
Yes, got a lot to talk about. Welcome to our weekly therapy session.
Yeah. It's time to wake up, people.
Yes.
Say no to vaccine passports. We're going to say that in every episode.
I'm fine with that. That's a good hashtag or something. So we're definitely going to talk about Cuomo. I haven't forgotten about him and the whole sexual allegation thing. I'm going to give everybody an update on that. I also want to talk about the Georgia voter law, which is extremely big in like the news right now.
It is just chock full of logic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what were your 2 points you wanted to bring up?
60 Seconds screwed over our boy Ron. They made allegations towards him in an interview, and when he answered them, 60 Seconds or CBS actually edited out
60 Minutes.
60 Minutes actually edited out like his rebuttals to these accusations, which is horrifically crazy. And and then just general vaccine COVID nonsense. A lot of interesting things going on with COVID and the I think
the double mutant strain.
Yeah,
Professor X and Magneto are here.
That's why I said I was going to have some fun this episode, because I think we're finally seeing it's starting to split at the seams. Like, they can't push any more fear on us. Like, we might just be on the cusp of more, not full blown waking up, but more people waking up.
I hope so. I feel like it's going the other way. People are buying more and more.
I don't know.
I hope you're. I don't know. I'm like disheartened by people's.
Maybe I could change your point of view around.
Maybe that I'm like seeing like. I think I texted you guys the other day. Like, I have been seeing so many people double masks in their car driving alone. Like that. Those are the people that are never gonna let COVID go.
But you gotta also think on a scale. I work in Connecticut and I live in New York. I get to see the two little towns that I'm in the most. You're home and you come and visit us, so you're only in your town the majority of the time. Like, being in two different places, I see differences. But like, you also got to think of like on a grander scale too, like what our cop friends see, and then like what the whole state of Florida, Texas,
the Rangers had a full capacity game the other day, and it looked like normal. People wore their masks if they wanted to. People didn't wear their masks if they didn't want to.
So I think like we in the tri-state are in a bad pocket where like if you were to go into Whole Foods without a mask on, those people would try and rip you apart. Whereas I want to say just a few states south,
No, it's true, because when I was in Florida, I did feel a sense of relief, and like there's this like general aura of doom is not all over the place. Things would be like a little bit more lighthearted, but then you come back and when you've been like in here, in this like sphere for a while, it starts to wear you out again.
It's no mistake that it's. It's no mistake that it's a blue state, and we'll get into like my vaccine and COVID shit.
We're already on it, bro. Go right into it.
So I just read in the paper today that, guess you already know it's a Democrat state. I don't have to say it. What state is the leading state in the most positive COVID cases?
Is it New York right now?
Nope. It is Michigan. So some of the people who, first off, what's her name? Whitmer?
Yes, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor.
Yeah. First off, she also needs to be investigated. She followed Cuomo and did the same thing with her nursing home patients. There is a lot of question about election fraud in Michigan. But on top of that, they have set the record of most positive COVID patients in the whole year, I guess, or for like since COVID started. And on top of it, they are one of the most liberal, trust the science, lockdown states there is. They have the biggest mask mandates, nothing over 50% capacity. Other things are still closed. She's a real, she's a real dictator. They are following like the same things like COVID.
Playbook.
Yeah. They're following the establishment playbook, and their numbers are through the roof. Whereas Texas, who we are letting illegal immigrants in with COVID, Texas has no mandates. You could do whatever you want. I mean, you could still get vaccinated. You could still wear a mask, and their numbers are plummeting.
Right.
And I think you shared it this morning. Fauci was like, "Oh, well, these things take a few weeks. I'm sure, once the more data comes in, it'll be an uptick."
It's already been a few weeks.
It's been 35 days. It's been, if COVID works in 14 days and now you only need to quarantine for 10 days, we're on like a 10 to 14 day period, not 35 days. We have enough record right here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird. Like, I was questioning, like, do you think the actual masks are making people sick? Or do you think it's maybe something like psychological, or, something like where like the state doesn't have to wear their mask and they're not so worried, and maybe like their immune system boosts?
I do think there's maybe a psychological aspect to it. I do think also that when as I've said a million times, government ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
They mess everything up. When the government tries to do something, the end result always comes out worse. And this is a clear example, right? The more the government has tried to insert itself and tell you what to do and control the situation, the more it's gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
So as you could see in Florida and Texas compared to New York and Michigan, the numbers are way down there and the numbers are way up here. I think maybe when you try and tell someone what to do, they have the opposite reaction. Like that's happening with me right now and getting the vaccine. The more Joe Biden and Fauci tell me that you should get the vaccine, and even Mitch McConnell now is on the train, and that there's a vaccine passport, like the more you try and force me to do that, I'm going to become more resistant to doing it because I don't trust you. And I'm not going to trust you. Trying to force me to do something is not going to get me to trust you anymore. It's going to have the complete opposite effect. So if you just treat people like adults, and give them the information of what they should do, but don't force them to do it, they probably are better off.
They're trying to leverage back to normal. If we comply, then they will reward us with letting us do things that we used to do. We don't even get to do any new things. We're not gaining anything. We're just getting back to what we used to be able to do.
If we comply, they'll reward us with our constitutional rights that we have already.
Yes.
They just made up that they could take them away.
Also, listen to episode 59. Nick was like, well, the government said if we did the lockdowns, things could go back to normal. Then the government said if we get a vaccine, things could go back to normal. Yeah. Now the government's saying if we get a vaccine passport, things will go back to normal. Mm-hmm. We've moved it 3 times. Fool me once, fool me twice. You know what I mean? Like, it's now the third time. Now everybody gets vaccinated, and you still have to wear the mask. I think more people are waking up to that type of nonsense as well.
The goalposts will always move. Yeah. Always. And they don't want to release the state of fear that they've set on people yet, because that's very valuable. This state of fear that they've created is very valuable in terms of them being able to pass legislation and influence the way things are. If that state of fear lifts, they lose their leverage. Yeah. Just like if they get rid of the Second Amendment, we lose our leverage against government tyranny. You know what I mean? Everything is just leverage.
Yeah. And that's why I'm excited, because for the first time, I really feel like more people are waking up to this bullshit.
What makes you feel this, though? Because I told you before, I'm not
there's more. First off, Biden hasn't been able to complete anything. He's doing a terrible job at the border. Like you could clearly see like the different paths Trump's presidency took in the first, 100 days and Biden's presidency took in the first 100 days. There's been nothing but a mess going on around us. Everything he set out to do,
I agree.
He's failed at.
I agree, but this is me and you. we're talking about
True.
here. You know, you could. I've talked to people who think
You're
this
right.
is great. You know,
Yeah.
everything's great. Yay!
But I'm starting to feel that the silent majority is much larger than anyone expected it to be. Like I was saying, like on a different scale, look at all those people who went to that that Rangers game. You know what I mean? Like I really feel like if Cuomo got kicked out of office and like someone new came in and they were like, we're lifting all these mask mandates, we're going to be just like Florida and Texas, there would be a lot of people complaining.
The Yankee game would be full.
Yeah, because right now, obviously New York is such a blue stronghold. There would be this pushback, but I guarantee you that first Yankee game, it would be like when they won the World Series in '09. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I think this is a good point. Good time for me to make this point. I heard from one of my cousins told me this. He used this analogy that he says he made up himself, and he goes, "You ever have a shopping cart and there's the one wheel that spins?
Yeah.
The squeaky wheel is the loudest wheel." Right, and it's the one spinning out of control, while the other three are just working normally and everything's okay. It's always the loudest wheel that you hear out of the three. So maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. It's there are three wheels, everything's working normally, but it's still that one spinning wheel.
I really can't. I really don't see that the people who are and the people who are wearing two masks also, it doesn't necessarily mean they are the crazy woke virtue signalers. True. It also could mean I'm a coward. You know what I mean? Like the fear is what is the leverage.
Yes.
Some people are actually scared because they can't think for themselves, but other people are cheering on to keep the fear. You know what I mean?
No, that's true.
That's what really motivates all of this. Like the people cheering to keep the fear are only scaring the people who are already scared more. You know what I mean? Because like
it's like a negative feedback loop.
Like so, like I go to the gym a lot. You know, the one thing I don't understand why Fauci never pressed for is take your vitamins, live a healthy lifestyle, don't get a Krispy Kreme donut after your vaccine. You know what I mean? Like
go get sunlight.
Yeah. So I go to the gym. I wear the mask in the gym. I take my vitamins. I'm in sunlight. I breathe fresh air, and I see people in the gym who are younger than me and athletes, not an ounce of fat on them, wearing two masks. Like your immune system, you don't even like drink, bro. Like I'm drinking now. Like your immune system is 10 times better than mine, and they have two masks on. I just think that kid is so young and so scared that like he doesn't know like what else to do.
Yeah, well, they could just be they're just Fauci said do this, I do this. You know, those are the people that dishearten me.
That's the reason why we can't turn this around fast enough, because there's too many people who just want to stay silent and comply.
The fear narrative over it, you know. I was suspicious about two masks to begin with because it was so late in the game for them to say, "Wait, two masks now." Well, why? Why not before? It's
a test. It's almost like it's an experiment.
That's probably they have. My opinion is why so late in the game they decided to say start wearing two masks. Is they have a handle on supply and demand of masks, and they know, look, the supply has increased tremendously. Let's start telling people now to wear two masks. It's like in the beginning, how Fauci said don't wear any masks because he was lying because there was not enough masks, and they wanted all the masks for themselves. Same thing now. I think now they know, look, the supply is up. Now we can start telling people to wear two. They're lying to you.
Yeah.
They were lying to you for the... I believe Fauci. I believe Fauci. Two masks were needed from the beginning, and he knew it. But he continued to, do his mask lying throughout this whole year because he knew the supply curve or whatever.
I'm starting to think that the masks are part of what people keep getting sick over. To be perfectly honest with you, they are filthy.
That's your fault if you're not washing your mask, though.
But people use those little blue ones over and over. I'm guilty of it. You know what I mean? They get filthy. Your hands are dirty. You pull it down. They're continuously filthy. But talking about Fauci, so one of the articles that blew me away. So I just saw the headline, and it's like, Fauci answers if pregnant women should get vaccinated. And I was like, before I even opened it, I was like, oh yeah, he's 100% in favor of this. Bro, I open it, I read the article. The data isn't even out yet.
Right.
There is limited data. They are conducting studies, but the studies are only 40% finished. And there is no long-term studies. This vaccine is experimental.
Right. It's only under emergency use approval. It hasn't been 100% FDA approved yet.
And as a pregnant woman, like you're not allowed to eat deli meat. You're not allowed, you know what I mean? Like don't smoke, don't do like. There's a lot of things
But they're ready to cram that new substance into your
completely.
body.
And listen, if they should have lied about that. Like the data's out, the studies are done. Like you know what I mean?
So you're saying they what?
They're in favor of it, and they don't even have the full data.
Yeah.
They don't have all the scientific.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not even their fault. It takes time to do those studies, and you know, there's not that many people when they were doing the original test, you know, like what is it called? Like they do the trials or whatever.
Right.
You know, there's plenty of normal people that you could just do trials on, but pregnant women that are like willing to do that, there's not a lot of them. It's going to take more time to get that information. Another thing like that, somebody I know who has a lot of underlying health issues and etc. I'm not going to name any names, but they got the vaccine recently and they're in a like test program because this person and all of their underlying issues. Also, there has not been like a long proven trial period because there's just not that many.
And just like that, you're a lab rat.
But if you're willing to do that, that's on you. My thing is like it's not 100% fleshed out in every single possible scenario yet. But no, take it.
Yes.
Passports, limit what we're gonna do, what we can do, where we can go. What do you mean? At least, every single possible scenario that anyone could be in that would have to get a vaccine should be completely fleshed out first.
People should, because that's like almost the American. You're not going to agree with it, but like the American medical system, like the individual patient determines, like what type of care they want. You know what I mean? Not what level of care, but like if you have cancer, you have the right to like not take chemo. Like you'd rather it just
but they're going to influence you too.
Yeah, but like there's been people who've turned it away, and they suffer the consequences, whatever it may be. This is Fauci, so he's the number one paid government employee. All eyes on him. He loves this. This is why he's never going. This is the man who tells you wave 4 is here after we told you waves 3 and 4 were coming. This is a man who comes up with mutant strains. There's always variants. We can never be sick again under him.
Right. That was his argument against Rand Paul, is that yes, while we're vaccinated and et cetera, and the vaccine works, me and you, although we're both vaccinated, we still have to wear masks. It's not theater because there's a impending, there's possibility of variants. Well, no shit.
It's a bottomless pit of fear.
There's a possibility that the Walking Dead virus could appear at any moment and wipe out all of humanity. But we're not going to, is everybody going to start carrying, machetes in their pocket because there could be walkers in any moment? No.
And so then now here he is. Like, I knew it before I even read it. He was in favor of injecting pregnant women. This is ludicrous. Yeah. Who knows? There's not even studies on what the newborn's lifestyle is. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you mean.
A baby could be born perfectly fine, and then later on in life develop
some
like
long term.
Yeah,
we're not doctors. We don't know.
No, we're not. But like,
there hasn't, since this version and etc. of the vaccine has been out. My thing is that you did trials and it shows right off the bat, or within a few years, there's no immediate death or side effect cause. Fine, because you've had that much time to test it. Yeah. But we haven't had 30 years to see what the long-term effects of this thing are yet. So please don't tell me I have to go get it. Wait, give me 30 years and let me see what happens to everybody else. In that, you seen I Am Legend?
Yeah, that was from it was a vaccine.
In I Am Legend,
I was just thinking about that.
They created the beginning of the movie starts out. They created a vaccine against cancer, and it was like a modern medicine breakthrough and etc. And then I forget how long it was. And then it's like 6 months later, 12 months later, whatever. Everyone in the world's dead. Yeah. Besides Will Smith because of the side effects from the vaccine turning them into zombies. It's a movie. I know. I'm not trying to say this is the same thing, but it's the same. This is the premise. I don't know yet. I know you've had. Because they say with this vaccine, it's not like they started from scratch, they say, because of the first SARS or whatever. Like, they had information that they used to, like, there was some sort of development.
Because they created COVID-19, so they knew how they already had.
They had something to work off of already, and then they fast-tracked the whole thing. But they, in my opinion, at least, I don't know if this is 100% right, but they didn't have 40 years of data to fall back on saying this is 100% long-term safe. So please, don't force me to do it because I'm not gonna.
They're already talking about how long the Moderna vaccine might be effective for.
Right. Yeah.
You just got it, and they're already talking about when it's going to run out.
Yeah, they want to sell more.
To me, you know what? We're good.
Yeah, that's
We're
it.
good.
That's it. I can only so much.
Listen, if you feel you need to take the vaccine,
it.
if you have underlying issues, yes, go for it. You're risking more by not taking it.
My opinion on that is freedom, right? If you want to go take it, I'm pro vaccine.
Yeah.
I'm pro choice.
Yeah.
If you want to take it, take it. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Not going to tell you.
And
to do
also,
either.
we always say we're not experts. I'm glad I just remembered this. We always say we're not experts, but we've been calling some of this stuff for a while now.
Yeah.
For a while, we had proof of corruption in when we talked about Biden and stuff like.
You just texted me before.
Yeah.
Remember you said you called the. What did you say?
I'm pretty sure you're the one who said it. So we had said that like you're going to have to start showing proof of vaccines a while ago, and we could check old episodes. And you said you're right, but the government's not going to mandate it. They'll let the private sector and all the big businesses. Yeah. Right. And so right away, that was another thing Fauci answered. He's like, no, in no way. And everybody in the Biden administration is saying, no, we are not going to force vaccine passports. American people will have the right to choose. If you want to download the passport, that's fine. If you don't need to. The government, and even Fauci was like, no, we're not going to even need this once the pandemic's over. We're not, the government isn't going to push this on you. But then in the following sentences, it was like, but it is unclear what the private sector plans to do.
Right.
So right there,
it's about optics, right? And just like I said, they are not going to mandate it by government law because that's bad optics. Now it looks like it's government overreach, etc. But you damn right they're going to get on the horn and call up their buddies in every single major corporation that controls the country, which they do. The corporations run everything, and say, listen, don't let people do this without the
movie
passport.
theater, restaurant, this, that.
And so they save face, and they could use the corporations as a bad guy, and they'd be like, well, it's a free market. You don't have to go there if you don't want to.
And isn't it funny that last year all the small businesses choked? So now with the new year, if everything opens up, there's a lot less of the small businesses and only the big corporations. So who would choose not to enforce
the small businesses?
Yeah,
right.
And they killed a bunch of them last year. Right. Boy, look at how that turned out.
Yeah, well, we're conspiracy theorists, bro.
Yeah.
Can't question anything.
All right, well, you know what?
Write us off. Yeah. Need another drink, go for it.
Let's not let Cuomo.
Let's not let Cuomo get away with anything. I was thinking yesterday, and I'm like, man.
Want another?
No, I'm good. I was thinking the other day, like, it's been a while since the first accusation of Cuomo. And I'm like, I feel like people it's out of the news. People kind of forgot.
Well, if you ask anybody right now, what did Cuomo do? Legalize marijuana.
Right. He's got a positive story back on his side now. So I looked up, how long has it been? Well, by the time this episode comes out, it'll have been 115 days. The first accusation of sexual harassment was on December 15th. And, I guess the investigation's like still in progress. 115 days. It's still in progress. But my point was going to be that
it's already been a quarter of a year.
The news cycle has forgotten about it almost already. And now the news cycle has shifted back in his favor, like I say, because he legalized marijuana, etc., which we are in favor of. It's a good thing, But this was his... Sorry, but my point is going to be like, this was his plan all along. I'm not going to resign. Why? Because I could just wait it out. And the longer I wait, the longer I stall. Let the state legislature do its investigation. I'll use my backroom influence and pressure people and this and that. And a year or 2 years from now, no one's going to remember what happened. They're not going to remember, and I'll get away with it.
I don't even have... Yeah, why should I make it even broader? Yeah.
Yeah, and that is literally, he's trampling on women right there. But it won't be painted that way. He's using his
Wait, we also can't forget what he did in the nursing homes. 13,000 dead seniors.
That's already been forgotten, bro. That's already been forgotten. Yeah. So that's just my point. It's been 115 days. He's still in power. He's still in office. Nothing's come from it. And I guarantee you, I went from being super optimistic because this is the end of Cuomo, and then I realized, oh man, his plan is working again.
Yeah. Nothing has changed. And let's be very real about this. You want to talk about? I'll give it to him. Smart tactician.
Oh, he's a genius. Yeah.
He also stated last year, and we spoke about this, that he was never going to legalize marijuana unless he was going to get his tax cuts or whatever.
Perfect segue. Go for it.
And he was going to get. He had to oversee the tax crediting of it or something like that. And now we don't know if he has that. Maybe he was in such a tight corner that he legalized marijuana and without having that type of influence in it. But he also could be having that. So when this all blows over and we forget about it and we're all smoking and all these, dispensaries are open up, he not only got away with sexually assaulting. If they're up to 9, we could probably add 9 more if we really wanted to. It doesn't matter at this point. We could say 9,000.
I was going to say it could be 9,000.
And on top of it, it doesn't matter what his plan was during COVID. We'll forget about it, and he'll be getting an even bigger paycheck as we smoke
He'll probably
it up.
get reelected, bro.
Yeah.
He'll win in a landslide next time.
Yeah.
If that happens, dude, I'm going to, I'm hoping that there'll be repercussions via democracy. You know what I mean? If he doesn't face any repercussions via legal or whatever. But I'm also not optimistic. So.
Yeah, you know what it really comes down to is whoever runs against him needs to bring this information up.
Yeah, I agree.
And with the compliant media, they're going to give him the Tulsi Gabbard treatment.
The deck will be stacked against that person. Yeah, man, I remember actually when I had read the article or speech that Cuomo gave a while ago, over a year ago, about the legalization of marijuana, and he specifically said that the legalization will depend upon the money. It's all about the money. He said something along the lines of, it's all about the money and where the money goes, and I want it to go into a fund that I alone have control over, etc. And we were talking about it the other day in a group chat with some of our friends, and it was actually Jimbo from The Last Slice. He sent us the fee, I think it was, to apply for a dispensary in New York compared to New Jersey, which also just legalized marijuana. And I believe in New Jersey it was like $20,000 in licenses and fees, etc., to have a marijuana dispensary. But in New York, it's $200,000.
Well, I could tell you right now.
Where's that money going?
I can tell you right now, none of the drug dealers in New York are worried at all.
No, they're actually going to have discounted prices.
Yes,
yeah.
Because New York, there's no way they are going to tax this even like remotely normal. They are going to tax it so high they're going to hurt the business.
They're going to make the drug dealers boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how broken New York government is, because I'm all for legalizing all drugs, because I feel like that ending the war on drugs, legalizing drugs.
You want like heroin and crack?
Wow. Legalize it all, because that will solve itself almost, right? Even if New York did that, they'd find a way to fuck that up.
Yeah, because like you break it down, like first off, like New York, the legal limit to have on you is 3 ounces, right? That's a shit ton of weed.
Yeah,
what
is it, like 5 pounds in your house? Who would ever have that amount?
You couldn't smoke that in a whole year.
Yeah.
There's people out there that could. Congratulations, guys. Good for you.
Yeah, they got Michael Phelps.
Yeah,
lungs.
but the average person can't kill off 5 pounds in a year. But to have 3 ounces on you, that's almost like over $1,000. You know what I mean? Like,
a lot to lay out.
That's like
that's
like an illegal, drug deal. 3 ounces from a dispensary in New York is probably going to be about $3,000.
Yeah,
it's not going to be
But does that rule apply to the dispensaries though, or is that for personal use? Like the dispensaries are going to have hundreds of pounds on hand.
No. When you are out of your house, you could only have up to like 3 ounces on you. But in your house, you could have up to 5 pounds. Which is crazy. I even think that's too much.
It's insane. It's an insane amount. I'm wondering what are the rules? I haven't looked it up, but I have no idea. I don't know what are the rules for the dispensaries themselves. Like,
I don't know yet. It's not. We don't know what's going to happen with.
They probably haven't. But I could tell you, they just figured out how much they got to pay Cuomo.
I could tell you. Yeah, that's basically all that they've solved. I could tell you, like, New York is not ready for it because, like, every day I see in the newspaper, like, people are really worried, like, what's about to happen in New York. Like, nothing is going to happen. If a dispensary opens up in your town, you probably will drive by it and not even know you drove past it. You know what I'm saying?
I was with my dad before, and he was like, "Man, they legalized my." My dad's very conservative, right? He believes everything Republicans say, and he's against legalization of marijuana. He's like, they legalize weed now. He's like, there's enough dumb people out there now. There's going to be people driving driving high. Yeah. I'm like, it's not as bad as driving drunk. Number one, I'm like, number two, I'm like, give it a chance. It'll probably have the opposite effect. Yeah. And you'll see things will get better. I'm like, on top of that, it's business. I was like, I tried to make the point of, I'm like, you're taking the business away from the drug dealers and the criminals. I didn't think as to what you just said about how New York's going to mess it up so bad.
It's going to be too expensive.
They probably will go back to the drug dealers and criminals. But in theory, if you legalize something like, actual law-abiding business, will take over,
Yeah.
create a marketplace, and they're not. You have no. When I've been to the dispensary in Massachusetts, there's no danger of me being shot by the employees there and robbed. You know what I mean? It's everything's legit by the book.
Yeah.
When you go to a drug dealer on the corner, you could get shot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's always sketchy situations.
weed, good.
Yeah. What's up for what do we want to do next?
Want to get into Georgia? Georgia?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So as I'm sure many
I'm glad
people
because
are aware.
I have questions. I didn't really look into this, but from what I understand, stupidity across the board.
Yeah, no, it's stupidity across the board. First things first, Georgia passed some sort of voting laws, reform, etc. It's a lot. It's 98 pages, and that in itself is very frustrating as someone trying to do a podcast on politics because I don't got time to read 98 pages of legal scribe or whatever you want to call it. I don't even understand what most of it means anyway. And so that's frustrating thing number one. Frustrating thing number two is where do I go to find out what I'm going to talk about and do? I have to go to the media, right? Who has people that are going to break it down. The problem is they're going to put their own biased spin on it because all of the media is biased, right? So I looked at
all the media is propaganda.
So what do I try to do? I try and pick from one side and pick from the other side and then make my own conclusion. I went to the New York Times and looked up what they said about it. It's racist, it's repressive, it's voter suppression, it's this, it's that. And then I went to NPR, Fox News, and, they're not covering all of the everything in general. Like, they're omitting certain things that I guess you could say are maybe kind of make no sense as to why they even were paying attention to that. Like, for example, there's something in the law about getting rid of mobile voting sites. Like, they have some sort of buses that were like mobile voting sites, and they got rid of that in the law. And I'm like, well, why?
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of that, really?
But there could have been studies done that, like, over the past 5 elections, these mobile busing units had, like, a 3% turnout, and it's costing the city like $20,000 every election year.
That's possible. But it does seem like some things are like, how is it possible? There shouldn't have been 98 pages of this law, in my opinion, right? But I feel like the narrative out there that this is Jim Crow 2.0, Jim Crow on steroids, it's racist, etc., is complete horseshit. That is nothing but another attempt by Democrats and the elites to further divide people, and especially because this seems like the Republicans' effort in Georgia. We had this crazy election,
and Georgia was one of those questionable states.
And whatever you think of it, no one can say that it wasn't crazy, right? And so we need to do something to shore up the system, to get people's confidence back in the system, and this is what we're going to do. And that's like what their idea was. It wasn't Jim Crow or whatever. And some of the shit is laughable. So let me go straight to my favorite points. Let's see. So some people are saying, actually the goalposts have moved on this already. Voter ID. How voter ID is racist because they make the insinuation that somehow, minorities are not able to get ID.
Yeah, we squashed that last episode.
That makes no sense. Everybody has ID, right? And this law does say that you need to present your ID number on your ballot and your date of birth. But it says if you don't have either, you could put your last 4 of your social. Even further, if you don't have an ID or know your date of birth or know your last 4 of your social, you could fill out another form, basically like an affidavit, saying you don't have those things, etc., and include that in your ballot, send it in, and your ballot will be counted. Right? So it's not like, even if you didn't have an ID.
So you have one more page of paperwork to do.
Right. Even so what the Democrats are saying are, if you're black and you're too dumb to get an ID, there still is a way you could vote. So they're not impeding your vote because you don't have an ID in any way. On top of the fact that me and you have had this conversation before, and I feel I've said to you that they should just put all voting online and make a method for getting people to vote online, because everybody does everything on their phone nowadays, and the easiest way to just do everything is on your phone. You can bank on your phone. I know you'll rebuke me, etc.
No, I'm not rebuking you. I guess it is a little bit of a rebuke, but Joe Biden, straight up, because he constantly says racist things and people just let it slide. After he was already inaugurated as president, said that minority communities can't figure out how to schedule vaccine. So I think the issue was that minorities weren't getting vaccinated at the rate of, white people were. And Joe Biden straight up said, he's like, well, that's because they don't know how to use the internet.
Yeah,
so they'll just say that like they can't figure it out.
They keep calling minorities idiots.
Yeah.
Isn't that racist to just assume that minorities can't do anything?
It's the most racist. This is the systematic racism that they're just incorporating in so people could complain about it. Segregated graduations are not racist. So back in, the 60s and the 70s, there was segregated bathrooms, segregated doors, segregated schools, and that is what we consider as racist. Mm-hmm. And now we consider segregated graduations not racist.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
We are complaining about the treatment of minorities from America's history that in hindsight, it shouldn't have been like that ever.
They're baking it into the cake so that later on they could use it as another reason to pass more laws and take away our rights and etc. You need to go to the government to save you. The government's got to save you from racism. There's so much racism. There's systemic racism. There's racism in the system that we baked in. Yeah. We're going to come save you from it.
Just like everybody's going to forget that Cuomo assaulted these 9 women, but he legalized marijuana. Now we're going to forget that they baked in the racism, and now we're going to turn to them to help us.
Yes, that's what they do. Yeah. That's what
we're going to be. Everybody forget.
My favorite part about this whole thing is I was going back and forth with a friend of ours last night on Facebook regarding it, and he was of the opinion that they're changing all the laws to try and stop a whole bunch of people from voting in Georgia, and that a lot of people are minorities, etc., because they're Democrats. And I kept making the point to him, in Georgia, right? Well, if you want to vote, you can get an absentee ballot for no reason.
Yeah.
You don't need an excuse. You could put an excuse on there, but you don't need an excuse. And you could do so, going back to my online voting point, all you have to do is go to georgia.gov. If anybody in Georgia is listening to this, I'm going to help you. All my minority friends in Georgia, right? You go to georgia.gov and you request an absentee ballot. And you don't need an excuse. They will provide you the form on the website. You could print it out, fill it out, put who you want to vote for, put your ID number, or if you don't have that, put your last 4 of your social. Or if you don't have that, print out that other form, sign it, put it in there, scan it back, submit it. You have voted.
Yeah.
How are they suppressing anyone from voting? They are.
So wait,
you could go online and do it. You don't have to even go anywhere. And you have 78 days to do that. I was going back and forth with my friend because they changed it from like 100 and something days to 78 days. And he was saying
that's
how that's
still a lot of days.
But you have 78 days to complete one.
It sounds like your friend's pretty lazy. What did he wait the whole 150 days?
Right, exactly. And if you didn't know you could do that, then that's your fault. You know what I mean? It's not, Donald Trump's fault or the Republicans' fault. They gave you 70. It used to be one day. You go vote and that's it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now you have 78 days to do something online.
So what was his argument was over the amount of days?
Yeah, that because they lessen the amount of days, that's restrictive. I mean, yeah, I guess, but it's still not.
It's how many
78
was it?
days.
That's over 2 months.
If you lessen something, if you take something from 100 to 78, yes, it's less, right? But it's still. If they went from 100 and I think it's like 100 something to like
10?
2.
Yeah.
All right, now we have a beef. But 78 days, come on. On top of that, my going back and forth with him, I was like, okay, the only real, almost everybody does everything online nowadays, right? And the only real people I could see having a problem with that method of the absentee ballot online are older people, right? Mm-hmm. Older people, really older people, especially, don't know how to use computers for the most part. I'm sorry if I'm being ageist or something, but they don't. Good thing, however, that Georgia has 12 days of in-person early voting. So, all those old folks who can't figure out a computer, good thing they could go for 12 days in person before Election Day. You know how many days New York has for early voting?
What, 1?
9.
0. Okay.
Right? Wow, New York is racist.
It is.
Completely racist. My point here is that, I never really looked in depth into voting laws before.
Because why would you?
Right. But I started to compare New York and Georgia, and New York is like more restrictive than Georgia is. But there's no outrage. There's no Joe Biden saying New York is Jim Crow 2.0. Even I'm sure you've heard of the water thing, like how they made it illegal.
Yeah, you can't give it to them water.
People water who are, they say it's illegal to give people water who are waiting online. No, it's not. It is illegal for political action networks or groups to go there and try and influence who you're going to vote for.
Yeah, give you a Trump water bottle.
You could be online for a long time, and they could give you a Trump water bottle. It'd be like, hey, why don't you vote for, whoever, Stacey Abrams? Here, we'll give you, vote for Stacey Abrams, and we'll give you a full meal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that is what it's about. It's not about, Chris, you're online for, 5 hours waiting to vote. That's ridiculous in itself. Yeah. But, and you tell me, and I drive over to you, I'm like, hey, bro, here's some water because you're sweating to death. On top, you could also bring your own water. You could also, the polling places have water, and they could provide you water if you're waiting online. Yeah. That whole water narrative is complete horseshit.
This is why I'm saying I feel like people are waking up and they're losing. I feel like maybe not enough people are waking up. Maybe you are right, but I feel like the tide is almost turning because look at the minute things they're trying to blow up that like with 2 seconds of research and even reading most headlines, like by now everybody knows, like with the MLB we'll get into with Georgia and stuff, like by now like everybody knows like you did this because of racism, but Atlanta's got more black people than like, you know what I mean?
Let me make one more point on New York.
Yeah,
real quick.
Go ahead.
I was a Bernie bro for 2016, 2020. Now I have no home politically, right? But in 2016, I remember I saw Bernie and I figured this guy's talking about class. He makes a lot of sense, etc. And I was a supporter of him, and I wanted to vote for him in the primary. I was already registered as a Democrat, so I was able to vote for him in the primary. As I'm a political guy. As I was telling people about Bernie, etc., a lot of people were registered as independent. A lot of people were registered as Republican, and I didn't know at the time, they didn't know that in New York, in order to vote in the primary, you have to have been registered you have to obviously be registered for that party, which is dumb to begin with, right?
Sounds pretty restrictive.
That's restrictive, right? You have to be a registered Democrat to vote in the Democratic primary. And in order for it to count, you have to have change, like if you're going to change because say you want to vote for somebody, you have to have done that 6 months before the primary. Right?
Who's thinking of the primary 6 months before? Just the politician.
You might not even know who's running yet.
Yeah.
6 months before, right? But I told a lot of people, look, there's this guy, Bernie. He's really, really good.
Yeah.
I like him or whatever. And they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to change to Democrat so I can vote. And I told people you have to change to Democrat to vote in the primary because we have a closed primary.
Indoctrinating people.
You can't. It wouldn't matter. You weren't allowed to because you didn't. It was already too late.
That's insane.
That's restrictive.
Yeah.
But you will not see that being labeled as racist.
Do you know what that really?
Or Jim Crow, because it's New York and establishment incumbent Democrats who wrote those laws to keep themselves in power.
And think of this though.
How do you think Chuck Schumer is still in the Senate because of rules like that, which don't like a grassroots like movement can't come up and unseat him real quick because there's rules and the way to slow it down.
That just basically New York set it up so since there's Republicans, well, I guess when it would knock out Democrats, but when a certain party leader is running, the other party doesn't get to say or put their opinion in to the primaries.
No, those are closed. Like those, that's like the Democrats' rules are the rules for that, and the Republicans' rules they don't share the same rules.
I think that's bullshit, though. Like now only the Democrats are going to carry the Democrat they want. Maybe the Republicans. I'm sure. I know for a fact. I know someone personally who, by the end of Trump's term, did not like Trump and voted for Biden. Fine with. I hope you're enjoying it right now, but you know what I mean. Like he didn't get a say.
Who the guy was opposing.
Yeah, he maybe had a better pick in, I would have voted for Bernie to get, to have Bernie versus Trump or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't get to put our, we don't get our opinion to make a better choice. So if our guy loses, like, at least I agree with this guy. You know what I mean?
That's by design.
Yeah,
that's by design. That's an establishment built-in design to prevent the Bernie, the grassroots, the insurgent candidate that comes out of nowhere and challenges the establishment.
That's perfectly put the grassroots for Bernie because
it worked. Yeah, it worked.
It
worked both
It was
times.
a shield exactly built for that.
Right. It made no sense to
and
me.
we're not the experts, people.
Just to go back 4 years, back to Bernie and whatnot. I went to Bernie Sanders' rally with Jimbo from Last Slice, bro. In St. Mary's Park in the Bronx, hundreds of thousands of people were there. And like when you're there, I'm like, wow, man, it feels like this guy's going to actually win.
Yeah.
And it comes time to election day, and Hillary Clinton, won huge. Why? Probably because of a lot
New
of
York
these
threw out
rules.
200. New York threw out like 250,000 fucking.
A lot of
votes.
these rules put in place, they slow people down. So that's the real voter suppression. But because the Democrats, the establishment especially, are doing it, that will never get covered ever.
So let's talk about baseball.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
let's go.
So
go ahead. Lay the groundwork.
So Biden is even in. Why Biden has a say in this? Why we've lost a sport a year. We lost the NBA to China. We lost the NFL to taking a knee, and now we're losing baseball.
I'm still confident in the NFL. I had no problem with the kneeling. I feel like we haven't lost the NFL yet.
Yeah,
they're next because the season's coming up. Let's see. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm fine with losing basketball, but So they removed and Biden is in favor of this, which is ludicrous. They removed the All-Star game from Georgia because of their new voting laws that we just talked about. You could still vote. You could still, as you just explained, nobody cannot vote in Georgia. And they took the All-Star game because the MLB is fighting racism. And what did they do? They put it in Denver.
Yeah, Coors Field.
With Denver is like 72% white. And on top of it, Denver requires voter ID. And on top of that, Denver has a shorter absentee ballot.
Right. Denver's voting rules are even more restricted than Georgia. Yeah.
Listen, I always talk about I will respect somebody when they stick to their guns. Mike Lindell, off the charts, sticking to his guns. Cuomo, hate the guy, sticking to his guns. AOC used to stick to her guns, could care less about her now.
Oh, she's not sticking no more. She
sold out big time. She got the paycheck. She's gonna win.
The socialists, bro, they have the hammer and sickle. They got the broomsticks. They're ready to come for her.
But like,
no, yeah, I know. You don't got to tell me.
I'm speechless. It's ridiculous that we're at this
You know
point,
what's funny about that? With the fact that they took the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Atlanta.
I'm sorry. I just remembered the point I was going to make too. Now,
okay.
I would have respected the MLB if they stuck to their guns and like found a state better. You know what I mean? Like it would have to have more than 78 days. It would have to have no voter ID required. You know what I mean? Like, you have to go somewhere with a better.
The MLB is just virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Right. They don't have. The MLB doesn't control.
But that's a colossal fuck up.
Right. my thing is, right, it almost hurt. Like, if you're telling me that, these poor people in Georgia, they're being fucked over by the government and whatnot. Oh, yeah, it's going to really help them a lot by removing a big business event that they could make money from. Atlanta has a very large African-American population.
And Biden's in favor.
Which means that there's a lot of African-American-owned businesses, especially around the area of the ballpark. And that's like extra business that they wouldn't have had before. But now you've removed that from them, and you've given it to a white town.
Yeah.
Right? So that's racist right there almost. But I saw Tim Pool tweeted something the other day, and he's like, you got to hand it to Democrats. Like, they're willing to literally burn down the the neighborhoods, the economies, everything of their constituency to get what they want. He's like, and I'm not being figurative. He's like, I literally mean they're willing to burn them down. They did it in the summertime by not stopping people from burning down their own neighborhoods. They're doing it now by taking business away from minority-owned, areas in Atlanta. They will, and becomes a question of, are they doing this on purpose? Maybe if you keep people down, this is the old racist tactic. Keep people down, and they'll be reliant upon you for everything. Right? You keep people subservient, you keep the classes divided, and they will have to come to you for everything, and you can remain, you can keep that status quo forever. You know what I mean? My last point is, do you think removing the All-Star game from Atlanta is going to hurt the pockets of any politician or rich person or Democrat, politician in Georgia?
No.
No, who's it going to hurt?
The Republicans and the small people.
Just regular people. Yeah. That's who it's going to hurt. Yeah, so they don't even, MLB doesn't care. Joe Biden doesn't care. It's not going to hurt his politics.
The president of Unity is in favor of punishing a Republican-run state.
But
he doesn't care about those neighborhoods. Yeah, he doesn't care about that neighborhood. He doesn't care about that business. But you bring it to a predominantly white town, like this is a colossal fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, and on top of it, everybody that's up in arms over the voter ID and how it's racist. Every major company that has spoken out against this voter ID requires ID.
Yeah.
The whole, if we can't get ID to vote, but you need to show ID for vaccines, and everybody needs to get the vaccine.
Yeah, it's a double standard.
It's by, like you said, it's by design. It is designed this way. Why do you think there's such a crisis at the border? Because it's just going to be easier. It's going to be easier to get these unknown people to vote in their favor.
You know what would have made more sense for the MLB? If the MLB truly, genuinely feels that this is affecting negatively these neighborhoods and these people in this community, they should be investing more into the All-Star Game weekend, right? Why don't you make sure you have it there, number one, right? And then spend some money, MLB, and have some sort of get out to vote
meeting,
you know, this is how you register. Educate people. Give out free fucking hot dogs.
Nobody ever gives back to the problem.
Give back to the community that you are saying is so disproportionately affected by. But no.
And now they're going to be even worse.
From underneath you and say, well, you know, hey, they're racists.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? Once again, probably all small businesses. And last year they suffered. And now their big weekend coming up.
Right.
Gone.
Right. Yeah.
And all the white people in Denver. Listen, if we're going to make everything about race, let's make everything about race.
Yeah, this is racist.
This is about, how can people figure this out? We are going to solve this by punishing racist Georgia for having racist voter laws by taking away business from black people and giving it to white people in a white state.
I mean, come on, folks. I hope the captain's right and people are actually waking up to this stuff. You know, we're not screaming into the void here.
I have to believe that there are more people out there than that want to admit that are like, yeah, the kid in the apocalypse T-shirt's right.
This is a great shirt, by the way, dude. Man. It's very inclusive. There's all sorts of races in here. You know, they have grass. You know, very conservative. Their clothing attire.
He's gay, aliens, so we got that covered. Yeah, immigrants. Yeah.
There you go.
We're all good.
I like it.
Yeah. But
that's it. We hit all 4 points, right?
No, I got Ron DeSantis.
Oh, that's right.
Did we go over that?
I don't know. Did we?
Did we do that? No, we didn't. We started with vaccines.
I think you briefly mentioned it.
So you didn't look in. So I didn't look into Georgia voter laws, and you didn't look into what happened to Ron.
No, I know what happened to Ron. Okay, but go ahead. This is your topic. Go for it. I'll chime in.
We used to say this a lot, and we need to say it more. The media is not your friend. The media is not your friend. Listen, we have a two-party system. It's just the way it is. There's actually other parties, but for identity purposes, we have a two-party system. Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida. He's Republican. He is probably going to be a huge front runner for the 2024 election. Not worried about that right now. He's under heat because he signed the anti-passport bill in Florida. Vaccine passport bill in Florida. And he's been taking a lot of flack for that. And then 60 Minutes interviewed him, and they just started accusing him of a vaccination pay-to-play scheme.
Right.
So what happened was, first off, he changed the priority of who gets the vaccine first. After like frontline workers and nursing homes got it, instead of doing first responders or essentials and the elderly, he only did 65 and above. And they went after him for making the elderly a priority. But all of his numbers showed that the elderly were the ones dying most from COVID, so they attacked him for that.
Just to add some color into that, when I was in Florida, the elderly were excited to get the vaccine there. Every old person, I talk to people, I bullshit with people. The first thing old people were telling me, you get the shot yet? You get the shot yet?
And they said it in the article, we'll maybe share it, that like 75% of some of these communities were already vaccinated. So what he ended up doing was he wanted to start making more vaccination sites. So they were like, you're in a pay-to-play scheme. Publix, which is a grocery store down there,
it's a good store,
gave you $100,000 or $100 million in your campaign donations, and you gave them exclusive vaccination rights. And he's like, no, we didn't. CVS and Walgreens had them from day one. And she's like, yeah, but you streamlined your new contracts through them, and that's because they gave you the $100,000. He's like, no, it's not. He's like, I spoke with county mayors and community organizers and stuff like that. How can we get more vaccinations out there? We could give it to the hospitals, but like CVS and Walgreens, he's like, we asked several people, what is it, Publix?
Publix, right.
Walmart and like something else. And Publix was the first people to be like, yeah, we could use our grocery stores.
Right. And also those local officials recommended Publix be used.
Yes,
because
this is the easiest.
Like just strategically.
Yes.
There's a lot. And I remember when I was in Florida, there's a fucking Publix everywhere.
It's kind of like a Dunkin' Donuts or like a 7-Eleven or something.
So the local officials, they advised DeSantis, use Publix. Publix was there ready to do it too. Publix are everywhere. They have the network in order to easily distribute the vaccines to people around the corner. For all people saying there's an inequitable distribution of vaccines, wouldn't you want to use a place that's all over the place so that's more equitable?
And it's easier to get to. It's in all different communities. And they were the first to come to the table, and they'd be like, we were happy to help you. And like you said, all signs pointed to them. When Ron DeSantis on 60 Minutes tried to explain this...
He did a way better job than we ever could. But
yes.
Yeah.
Now, this is the governor of Florida. He is on 60 Minutes. We all know what Florida is. We all know what 60 Minutes is. This isn't like anything that nobody doesn't know. 60 Minutes and CBS edited out his rebuttals. Mm-hmm. They edited out everything that he said to correct these false allegations made again. This is 60 Minutes and CBS, people. You've all watched both multiple times. And they are falsely editing an interview with the governor of Florida, who is a presidential candidate.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
Because they've taken the preemptive strike model. Man, this guy is doing this is like somewhere in 60 Minutes, like the war room.
Yeah.
Wow, this guy, man, he's doing a good job, and like there's a chance he could run for president and win. We better start smearing him down.
Yeah.
We better start this is the media, the people who are just supposed to report the news.
There's no bias.
They had their war room meeting saying, Ron DeSantis, we got to go come after him.
This is disgusting. And here we go. We have Joe Biden in favor of punishing Georgia, where we have the president of unity happily punishing a Republican state. We have a Republican front runner where the media is openly editing the answers he gives to people so they don't know what he's all about. It's all...
Yeah, it's insane. You know what's funny?
This is why I have to believe people are waking up. Not everybody's... And they got caught... So. They really got caught red-handed for this. He's been vocal about it. Like, it's going to go away because it all goes away. But, like, for a little bit, there's going to be some of you... CBS, like...
No, it'll be
it'll be squashed before you know it.
I just thought of this. It's funny because remember when this whole vaccine passport started, people started comparing it to like Nazis and them requiring Jews to carry identification, etc. And there was like from the left extreme pushback over don't compare things to stuff like that, etc. But Joe Biden could go and compare Georgia voting law to Jim Crow 2.0 on steroids, and that's one thing was sacrilegious. You can't say it, you can't compare it to it. But the other thing, that's fine.
I said it.
No problem.
I said it on 990 WBOB. I said if Trump was literally Hitler, why is Biden employing all the Nazi tactics?
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
I
agree.
It's the media. This all begins and ends with the media until we figure out a way to take down or reform the media. Because, for 60 seconds, they've been around for eons. They've covered
they're supposed
everything.
To be like your trusted news source, like in-depth. They're supposed to do what we do.
Yeah.
Have like an in-depth episode. They take their time. They flesh out the topics. They tell you all of it.
If Ron's going to have some beers, he could come on this show. And
he would. I've seen him all the time. He's
Ron DeSantis, man, I'll have a beer with you any day, pal.
It's an open invitation.
Yeah. You don't got to do much, probably earn my vote. But, if I still like what Nick said, too, the Rand Paul. Yeah.
But, that was interesting. But, is Rand Paul actually going to run for president? Yeah. Probably not. He already's lost like 2 times.
It's easier to stay out of it. He's
too good of a candidate that he won't. You know what I mean?
It's not worth it for him.
No,
he can't withstand the abuse.
The good ones don't win. They have no choice. They get railroaded out.
Well, if you go to Georgia, you wouldn't be able to vote for him anyway because you only got 78 days.
Yeah, exactly. I have one bonus point I wanted to mention.
Let's get it done.
We covered the 4. This will be quick. Did you hear about Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and what he said the other day regarding Trump being banned
Yeah.
and censoring on social media and etc.?
Yeah, but you could explain it, because wasn't the case that he was
There was
talking
a
about
case.
thrown out, though?
No.
Okay.
There was it. Okay, so Clarence Thomas, black guy.
Supreme
I
Court
got to
judge.
mention that because everything's about race now. He came out and voiced his concerns over Twitter banning Trump and the power that big tech has on the First Amendment and censoring speech. There was actually a lawsuit against Donald Trump for blocking people on Twitter, and the lawsuit said that Donald Trump can't block me. The lawsuit was essentially Donald Trump blocked me on Twitter. This is a violation of my First Amendment rights to participate in discussion in the thread under things Donald Trump says. So,
I will agree with
yes,
that. Yeah.
right? And so this lawsuit ruled in favor of those people, saying, no, Donald Trump, you can't block people on your Twitter feed because because it's robbing them of their First Amendment rights. So how can Twitter go and block Donald Trump?
Do you see what I mean by the busting at the seams? They're losing control here.
If Donald Trump's Twitter feed is a protected by law as a form of public speech, right, and is protected, isn't Twitter also the same thing, right? Because Donald Trump has to be on there in order to facilitate people's speech to happen, right, in the thread underneath his comments, right? So this ruling, although technically was against Trump, like the hammer fell down against Trump, is going to have the opposite effect. And now I think this is step number one in them. Now you have Clarence Thomas on top of that. Now you have an actual legal,
and he hates Biden,
saying no, you cannot just block people, you cannot just censor people. And I think it's going to be a long fight. People like us got to talk about it, keep our eye on it, throw sand in the gears.
Yeah,
as I say, but I think this is step one into actually having freedom of speech on the internet.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about it all the time. We're almost positive Instagram shadow bans us, or
they're definitely it's
or
interesting.
slow us down.
That's the whole thing. I pay attention to the insights on our Instagram page, and boy, they manipulate it. I've tried. Instagram tells you if you post something at this time, it's when your followers are most active, and I test. Like if I post something here, if I post something there, what happens? And there's no rhyme or reason. It doesn't follow what they say. It's all very odd. If you're a political page and you share opinions that Instagram doesn't like, they're gonna limit your reach. Yeah.
But I mean, we knew this was a slippery slope that the second Twitter did that. I mean, but you know what's going to be interesting? Actually, I'm not going to say it's going to be super interesting because it might not be as crazy as we expect it, but I'm not going to underestimate it. Trump wants to make his own social media platform.
I'm all for that.
Well, he has every single right to, and let's be real. I'll even agree. It's going to be a circus for a while. It's going to be a circus, but I kind of do hope Trump comes out guns a-blazing.
You know what I've...
But just because I want that, it ain't going to happen.
You know what I've noticed? I'm all for Trump making his own thing. You can do what you want. My problem with that, and my problem with Gab and Parler, which I do use for the podcast to try and promote the show, is it's only people... The people who are on there, it's just political people.
Yeah,
it's people interested in only political opinions, only conservative.
It's not social.
It's an echo chamber. It's not very social. It's more of look at this, bah! Look at that, bah! And it's only people discussing
I go there for my fucking information.
There's not here's my pasta, here's my kid, what's up?
There's no food.
What's up, Brian? How you doing?
We could corner the market. Let's make a food page or a car page on Gab or something.
They are there, but the majority of discourse is politically oriented as opposed to Facebook. Yes, there's a lot of, and Instagram there's a lot of political stuff, but your random Joe friends are there posting pictures of their food, etc.
That's what I miss Facebook for, man. I wish it could go back to what Facebook was like.
Yeah, or these new, the thing is these new platforms. It's not Trump's fault if people don't come on his platform and share food. Is that people are going to come on there for something they're hungry for, which is political discourse. Yeah. And you're a person who doesn't give a shit about politics is not going to just for no reason join Trump's
100% though.
thing.
Trump is going to be like Tom, and everybody has to be his friend. 100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
100%.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We actually got to get going soon because we got another thing we're doing after this. If you want to shout that out, I'll make that come out after this.
We are going to appear again tonight. So this was, I guess, 2 days ago by the time you listen to this. We'll be on 990wbob.com.
We'll be on the outside with Pal and Fur. Talk more about MLB and Paul Pierce.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like you didn't expect that. But anyway, thank you guys for listening again. It's been a pleasure. Hope you learned something. Hope somebody woke up. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Get the word out there. Comment us. Tell us what you want to talk about. Give us feedback. We got a couple of great guys that give us feedback all the time. We want more of it. We love it. Give us topics. It's cool. You can catch us everywhere Trump is banned. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube is all at 2DoMen. Instagram is at 2DoMen_podcast. You could listen to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Apple CarPlay, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you get your major podcasts from.
Yes. Follow us also, or check us out on patreon.com/2DoMen. If you want to contribute to the show, we are going to invest stuff on the show.
Yep.
Shout out to our two supporters we have so far. We are, you know who you are.
Yep.
We are already starting to, we do have two supporters on there, you know, that's awesome. And we are already investing some of the money they gave us into the show. We're getting new cameras.
Yeah.
I did new lighting,
new lights,
in the back, etc.
So we're only
everything will go into the podcast.
It's not going into our car bills or anything like that.
Yeah.
We want to make it better, and we want to have better guests on and just keep pushing forward. So thank you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Adios.
Later.